Hello, everybody.
Hi, Amy. This is Velita Roy. How are you doing today? Very good morning.
Hello, good morning. It's an honor and delight to be with you here today.
Thank you. You're looking so gorgeous today with the white.
Thank you,
Good.
likewise. And how are you?
I am good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the session, Amy. So before we start your presentation, I will give a brief introduction of yours. So yes,
Thank
Amy is on the stage now. Let's welcome Amy on. So let's welcome Amy Sultan. So Amy Sinton, she is a multi-award winning personal life and business coach. She's on the list such as top 10 executive coaches of 2022 and top 20 life coaches to look out for in 2022 by NYC Journal. A top woman leader of 2023 by Passion, Mr. Magazine, and most influencing coach of 2023 from the Global Business Leadership Awards 2023. She earned her coaching certifications at Coachwise Academy and is a graduate of Harvard Business School online. She supports people in improving their careers and personal lives, achieving their goals faster and becoming more empowered. She speaks three languages fluently and works online. So this is the introduction for Amy Asselton. So yes, Amy,
you.
you can occupy the stage. Good
Thank
luck.
you so much. I'm going to speak with you all today about positive psychology in coaching. So, how does positive psychology go well with coaching? And how do we all avoid the pitfall of becoming delusional and overly positive? But also, how can we use positive psychology as a powerful tool in coaching? It can motivate and excel people and bring out their strengths. So, I would like to say that very often people that are psychologists will focus on a person and will overcome different challenges with them, different issues, and different health problems. And then once they get all of that clear, then they will simply deal with this deal with the situation as if it has been solved. But the truth of the matter is that there is so much more. Once we get a person from -10 to 0, then is this excellent time for a coach to come in and to push them up even higher to get to 5, then to 8, etc. So, when it comes to positive psychology and with coaching together, it's great to see what the strengths of various people are, to see what's right with them, what they can be good at doing, what their powerful sides are, what their talents are. And when we focus on that, we make people experience more positive emotions, and then they change the way that they think. Their whole mindset changes. And this is why it can be a very useful tool for their life. So, everybody knows that real life is full of negativity, hardships, but it has also got incredible moments. It has its fun, its positivity, and very meaningful, deep moments. So, if we ask somebody what happiness is, everybody will be at a different level of feelings in terms of positive emotions and negative emotions. And everybody will have a different way of explaining what happiness is to them, as well as what a definition of success can be for them, for example. So, what we do want to do is to find a way in which we can reach optimal functioning for people, and just as the psychologist tries to get rid of psychopathologies and various issues, a coach will try to enhance performance and well-being for people. So, how do we avoid getting to such a situation as negative, toxic positivity? So many people nowadays are into these quotes that are supposed to be motivating and uplifting to people, but will sometimes invalidate an issue. And then when we invalidate people's emotions, what they're going through, the situations in which they find themselves, then we enter into a path of toxic positivity. And toxic positivity puts an extreme pressure on people to disregard any kind of negative emotions that they're facing, any kind of hardships, and just push themselves to only show any kind of positive emotions that they're feeling. And this goes for not just the context of how they deal with their emotions and what they do in their lives. It also goes to how they deal with different people. Somebody that is in this kind of mindset of toxic positivity when speaking with other people that are facing various hardships, they will often disregard the feelings that they're going through because they may feel that they are too difficult for them to deal with and they may undermine them. So that brings out various other issues because if we are not okay with processing our emotions, then it's very difficult to regulate them. If we are not a self aware human being that can state what's going on, then we can also not direct solution finding kind of mindset to what's the right way to go forward. So it's important to try and be positive, but to also keep a healthy balance and to remember that we need to be accurate in the way that we think, but have a positive way of kind of viewing it. So, what can we do in terms of coaching by using positive psychology? Well, we can aim towards using a person's maximum potential. We can, on the level of an individual as well as a team or a corporation, some kind of an organization, try and bring out the full potential that is possible. So by focusing on all of the positive things and trying to see um, what is impacting the quality of the work or life that somebody has to make it better, that is how we can use positive psychology in coaching to a benefit for all. So, another thing that we should be aware of in terms of negative and positive is that not only positive emotions are good for us, bad emotions, negative emotions are there to serve us as well. The reason for which we have many of them is just to be aware of what's going on. Our mind will alert us, inform us, and make us aware of what is going on. If we are facing danger, these feelings of discomfort, of negativity, are there to help us and not to hinder us. If we use them to our advantage. So if we feel fear of something after a dangerous situation, for example, then that is there to teach us, be careful, don't fall into the same cycle, but also we don't want to become traumatized by certain things, and it's important to overcome that with the right specialist. But understanding that not all negative emotions are bad is very important in terms of coaching people while using positive psychology. So, what can we do to understand how to deal with these things also when helping others as a coach? So, the difference between being self aware, assertive, and knowing how to regulate your own emotions and just feeling such a pressure of not displaying any emotions is something that we really need to learn how to differentiate. Um, if a client comes during a coaching session to a coach, it's important to speak about what the ideal vision is. First of all, to understand what the goal is, to understand what is important to the person that is coming to us, to ask such questions as when do you feel best, and what does your goal look like, and what is your ideal situation? When we get the person focused on such things, then they start to have a much more vivid imagination, they become much more creative, and then they focus on much more positive emotions. But then once we finish that first part of a coaching session where we do focus on what is this goal, what is this desire, what is this need, then we go back to focusing on what is going on right now and understanding the positive sides and the negative sides will give us a win win situation usually because we'll know what we're dealing with. When we understand the positive sides of a certain situation or a certain person, then we can use that to our for ourselves to get a better outcome. And when we know what the difficulties are, then we can work on overcoming those. We can work on figuring out various solutions. As a coach, we do not offer people an answer of what they should be doing because we're not mentoring them in most cases, unless somebody is both a mentor and a coach. But we want for them to be able to do that for themselves with the support of us. So, understanding various things such as um, what strength somebody has, what motivates them, is some kind of a way in which we can really make them excel with positive psychology and coaching. Whenever, if I would ever ask any of you, what are your strengths? Many of you might find it more difficult to try and find out what those strengths are if you have not done a lot of work on yourself and not worked on developing yourself on the inside as much. But it is also something that will make you feel much more focused on the positive side of life. And talking about strengths will decrease the negative thinking usually. Another thing to keep in mind is that when people overly focus on the future, um, and even when they are positive about it, they use positive psychology. But as with everything, there needs to be balance. So if there is a line crossed and somebody becomes obsessed with the future, then there can be a situation in which they will lose satisfaction in the present moment of their life. So it is very important to not only focus on the future, but also understand what is going on right now, what are the positives of right now, and looking at everything as a process, as a journey. Many people say that you have to also enjoy the journey, not just the goal. So it's the same in terms of coaching and positive psychology in coaching. um, if we do identify what the good things going on are, even if it's a very difficult situation, then the person will have the strength and the motivation to keep going. Another thing that positive psychology in coaching implements is rewarding people for their successes. When people keep themselves accountable, either by themselves after a session as they speak with a coach, or um, even if it's just offering feedback of the progress, what they've done, and getting recognition for this, this should bring out much more positivity in a person's life, and it will bring a much more positive mindset and focus on what is going on. So, um, as I've said, there is a big difference between just focusing only on the goal and only on what that is going to do, because then we'll also have a greater chance of seeing what's missing in a negative light. And we want to use the positive psychology to our benefit, not to hinder us and demotivate us. So, identifying what we are lacking is okay. Embracing any kind of flaws that we have, understanding what our strengths are, what the positive aspects of a certain situation are, is very important. But just focusing on, let's say, that dream job that we don't have yet will make us feel less than or worse than if we become too obsessed with it. So just trying to just trying to find a good balance between all of this, and also having people's confidence built to the way that it will serve them, and have them go through all this process to reaching their goal is very important. So, in terms of toxic positivity again, as I had mentioned, um, if people are feeling ashamed of speaking about their issues and speaking about the negative emotions that they're going through or anything like that, that can be a sign of toxic positivity, can be a sign of other things also. So, this is not a diagnosis, and this is not advice, but it is important to understand that it's not going to be very useful when you're at a coaching session as a coachee, as a client. So, to be able to use the maximum potential, even of just the session, when you're with a coach as a client, it is important to be able to open up and to say what your true feelings behind a situation are, to speak about what you are having difficulty with, to understand the fact that speaking about something in an authentic manner, and understanding that something is difficult for you and that we are not perfect as human beings, is a real strength. And it's important to keep that in mind, because many people will think that they have to be this strong kind of person that never gives up, that never has any kind of troubles in their life, and that is not a healthy way to behave. And by having this kind of a toxic positivity in people's life, it can cause a lot of negative things, such as trauma and feeling of isolation. And it's just very good to be able to speak with the right professional about what is going on, and to be able to overcome this. So, another amazing thing that we can see when people will use positive coaching, positive psychology coaching in their lives, is that their chances to become more productive, more happy, as people might say, about themselves, because we cannot say happiness is this and that is for everybody. No, if somebody is going to quote themselves as they're truly happy, they can become more active in their workplace, in their personal life. They can become more kind and helpful, open, trusting towards others. And so there are many, many benefits of positive psychology in coaching, both in people's personal life as well as in their careers. And so, even if we have a look at organizations, we can see people overcoming certain issues, various challenges. People become much more self aware. People learn how to articulate themselves better, because once we speak about something, we become more organized in our minds. So, a coaching session can also look somewhat, in certain cases, like opening a wardrobe and everything falling out, or a pantry and everything falling out, and then having to put everything back in the right place, and then we see everything is organized, and it's much easier to go through such an area to see what's necessary and where we can find it. And same goes for our minds, in terms of just speaking about certain issues. Um, when we speak about what we want and what we are dealing with a coach, we will also get the support necessary, um, and we will be not pushed and not guided, but we will have a certain methodology that will support us in having the right kind of mindset and about going through the necessary areas of the conversation. And so, also understanding that is very important for coaching, while using positive psychology, to be based more on science, more on certain structures and methods, that are working. Of course, there are people that have an amazing gift for supporting others without using any kind of specific tools or methodology, but it must be done with extreme care so that you do not hurt somebody. Because when dealing with people's minds, we really don't want to push people into any kind of a delusion, and we do need to acknowledge both the good and the bad and to be aware of it. That is what we practice a lot as coaches, being aware of the truthful and accurate situation and how we can bring out the best and how we can go forward in order to achieve the goal necessary. Um, as it happens, when people experience this kind of a positivity, they also will start being more imaginative, creative, and it brings out a lot of positivity in the workplace. They can become much more productive workers. They can become also much more self aware when they open up to what's going on in both their professional and personal lives. When people have a good look at what their habits are and focus on how they can change their habits to have a much more positive impact on their quality of their life, because each and every one of us, everybody has some kind of habits, some kind of routines, to a greater degree or smaller, that we will repeat either consciously or subconsciously. They can be certain patterns. And until we are aware of them and aware of how they affect our lives, then it is very difficult to have any kind of impact of how they affect the quality of our life. So, by using positive psychology in coaching, when we do have an analysis of what the positive habits can be for our overall well being to increase people's health, people's happiness, etc., how they can have a better, stronger mindset, then we will impact their daily lives, or just even years of their life. And when people use positive psychology in coaching, they can also speed up the way in which they will achieve certain goals. And um, when we have a deep dig into what an ideal situation for someone is, it is also important to understand, as a coach, what all of the things that they imagine in such a situation are, because everybody has some kind of meaning to whatever thoughts that they have. If they picture a certain color, if they picture a certain place, a certain time, then it's all usually meaningful to them. And understanding what this is will give a lot of insight and can support people a lot in how they will achieve their goals. So let's say somebody says that their ideal situation is being a CEO that lives in Miami, that goes for a run on the beach every day, interacts with people, has a healthy lifestyle, etc. So understanding why it is that place, why it is Miami, understanding why these healthy habits are important to such a person is important. Understanding all of these various interconnected facts will give us a lot of insight to what kind of a person this is. And also, speaking with people about what their values are will help us use positive psychology in such a way that people will become much more aligned and authentic with who they truly are, because everybody has some kind of core values inside of themselves. And positive psychology in coaching can support people in truly becoming their best selves. Um, and it's important to understand that when we have a positive, respectful partnership with the coach that we are speaking with, and when we do open up and speak about what is important to us, then we can support such a person in the session as best as possible. And just truly being mindful about what the will see something that another person has, success of another person, and for one reason or another, they'll think, okay, that's what I want. But when you speak with them and truly understand what deep inside of them is a value to them, what they find important and why they find it to be important, then it's possible to align a person with what they truly want, not just with what their culture or their society may be even pressuring them about. And it can bring out a lot of positivity. And it's important also to understand that a professional coach should be respectful of others, should not be pushing their ideas on others, their own values or beliefs. And when a coach has the right kind of mindset towards their client, then it will bring a much better outcome of the session usually. So, as a coach, it's important to remember that the space that we are creating for speaking with another person must be open, must feel safe, and must be safe for the other person to truly open up, because then we can best positively impact their lives and just be there for people. And another way in which positive psychology supports people is by supporting them with their emotions. And during coaching sessions, even when it comes to organizations, the truth of the matter is, we're all just humans and we all have emotions. And if we do not deal with our emotions, then they can start bubbling up and coming onto other sides of our lives, such as work, etc., where we want to show up as professional, where we want to perform best as possible, where we want to provide solutions, where we want to be on time, etc. And so, if we are able to regulate our emotions by ourselves, and also speak about our emotions with a coach, then it is much easier and much better for us in the way that we will then um, go along with our lives and with our work. So, understanding the fact that also if we do have a more positive personal life, then it is also going to affect other areas of our lives. So if we have a very positive life personally, then it will have some kind of an impact on the quality of our life professionally. I have heard many a times people say, well, that in their lives, when they are having a very positive experience in their personal life, then they will be doing worse at work. Or on the other hand, if people are doing really great at work, then they're experiencing failure, sadness in their personal lives. So I think it has a lot also to do with the way that people will put their focus and their time and energy into things, because um, people tend to focus a lot on um, one of those aspects. And so when you do speak with a coach, you can use positive psychology to have both great work and great personal life, and try to balance that out as best as possible. A coach does not guarantee that you will have such and such a result in your personal life, because as a coach, to be fair, in the partnership with the client, we do say that the responsibility for the person's life is the client's, that we are there to support them with certain methodology and structure and questions, but the people are in charge of their own lives. But what we can help people with is, if, let's say, somebody is doing great in their personal life, but they're feeling like they're in a rut in their professional lives, we can identify the pain points. Why? We can understand what things must be changed to have a really great positive impact, to overcome the challenges, to be more motivated, to break out of their shell, to be more confident and to feel their best. And then we can start seeing an improvement, and usually both of those sides will start getting better. So I understand that I also have some time for other people to ask any kind of questions if they would like about what I have spoken about. If anybody is interested in asking me, you can either turn on the camera or your microphone, or please feel free to write in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. I have read a comment by Dr. Laura Dowling, who's an author and keynote speaker, that toxic positivity is so important to address. Thank you very much for that comment. I do think that it is very important because many people do not understand what toxic positivity is. They are not aware of it and can fall into the trap easily because they don't understand it, because they don't um, find there to be an issue. In the internet, there is so much going on. There are so many platforms that will just have these positive quotes, and when used correctly, they can motivate people. They can bring out the best in them. They can, even pull them out of depression sometimes, or give them this kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. But if that means just ignoring any kind of negative things that are going on in their lives and falling into kind of a fake way of being and delusion, then it can be damaging. So it is important to be aware of what is going on and using what you can to motivate yourself with positive psychology, as we do during coaching, but to understand both the positive and the negative are necessary. It's kind of like we need day and we need night. We function much better when it's the daytime, when we have sunshine, when we have that, but nighttime is also necessary. And so it's just important to be aware of both. Does anybody have any question? Please feel free to ask. I am answering any questions for free. If there's something that you don't understand, for example, or that you would like to find out, please let me know. I see Melinda Roy popping up. I don't see any picture, but I also don't hear any audio. Melinda, if you have any questions, please feel free to turn on your microphone or to write in the chat box.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking on mute. Thank you so much, Amy, for the wonderful presentation today. Yes, you have chosen a very good topic about positive psychology and explaining in a detailed manner. So, we have some questions for you from our audience. So, here is the question. So yes, what are the some common misconceptions about positive psychology? So and how can positive psychology I mean, what are the some latest search findings? I mean, research findings in positive psychology.
Mhm. So I would
So
say that the biggest misconceptions are that it is not helpful, that it is banal, that it is very primitive, that it is not science based, that it is not research based, that it's just people getting hyped up about things, but no real theory or knowledge, deeper knowledge behind it. And I would say that positive psychology is also part of psychology, and it is part of science. And when used with coaching methodology, it has to have science background. It has to have ways that are proven and shown to bring great outcomes. And that's what the most recent findings do show that people do become much more productive, likable, active, helpful, friendly, etc., when they do use positive psychology and coaching. So it is a very important tool, and I would say that with time, hopefully, there will be even more research done in this, as it is, well, quite a fresh topic. So I would say it doesn't have that many years as other areas of psychology. Melinda, I don't hear
Yes.
you. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So one more question. It is from my side. So this question is from my side. So how can so 100% we cannot be positive in our daily lives, right? Somewhere, sometime we will think in a negative manner. So we don't have so how can positive psychology benefits individuals, and how can positive psychology help us to achieve our goals and dreams?
So I would say that positive psychology is one of the basis for having a fruitful, fulfilling life, because when we mostly focus on the positive, then we fuel our mind with positive. And what we fuel our mind with is what we will get in our lives. It's kind of like when you put a positive seed into the soil, you should get a positive fruit. And when you put a negative seed, then the tendency is to get a negative fruit. It is super important to differentiate the thoughts that are negative thoughts and that are thoughts about negative things. So let me explain. If we have a negative thought, let's say if somebody is feeling really bad and they start eating things that they shouldn't, that are toxic to their bodies and harmful, then thinking that it's a good idea to do so is not a good idea. It's not a positive thought. But if we have a thought that we are feeling uncomfortable, so we are having a thought about a feeling of ours that may not be super enjoyable, then that is really good, because then we're aware and we can find certain solutions to this. Um, but also, by using things correctly in the right circumstances, in the right situations, it is good to use motivation for yourself, to be aware of the habits that you have in your life, to have greater wellness. It's important to focus on having a positive mindset, but also, as I said, understanding both the positive and negative in life. Um, so, for an example, everybody faces good and bad in life, but if we choose to have a mindset that will say, okay, so things are not perfect, they are as they are, but I will do my best with what I have, then we are going to have a positive mindset. If we just give up and start complaining about everything, then that's not going to be a very productive mindset. Of course, we cannot point fingers and say that the reason why somebody has that is just that they have a negative mindset. No, because some people may actually have underlying illnesses that cause such ways of thinking. And so this is not advice or any kind of diagnosis, but being aware of how we can enhance our performance and our well-being and everything with positive psychology is really important. And positive psychology can also cause us to be, as I've said, more creative. So when we are feeling more positive, then we can be more creative at work. It depends what kind of a job you're in. You may use it on the daily, or you may use it in certain projects, in meetings, in overcoming certain difficulties, and having creative solution finding. So it is very, very important to understand how we can personally use positive psychology for ourselves and for people that are coaches in coaching and for people that wish to benefit from coaching of how it can really support them in their lives.
Thank you so much, Emmy. You really answered very well,
Thank you.
taking time. And in the last question, we have one question we have from Hageni. She asked, like, psychology is the study of the soul. How can we then bring more of those soul qualities out?
So you said that you're quoting somebody that said positive psychology is the quote of the soul, and how we.
Yeah, you can see in the chat. You can see in the chat.
Oh yes, okay, I see now. Thank you. Kageni Starrett wrote, "Psychology is the study of the soul. How can we bring more of those soul qualities out?" I would personally not necessarily say that it is a study of the soul, but I do wish to understand the question more. Um, so, are you asking about how we can better align our lives with what we believe in and what our deeper values are? Is that the question, Kageni?
Hageni?
Innate qualities. Okay, so how can we bring more of our innate qualities out? So, by practicing awareness, there are lots of even free tests that you can do online. There are more paid tests also. There's better and worse quality ones that you can find online, or you can work with a coach personally. You can try to find out what your strengths are, find out what you wish for your purpose to be in life, and then you can identify what these innate qualities in you are. And then by focusing on what you want your goal to look like, then you can try and figure out how is it best for you to pull out these qualities for yourself in your life? How can you use them to make your life better? Or if you want to help others, then other people's lives also better. And everybody has various qualities in themselves, um, and understanding what they are will really, really bring out the best in people. Because even, for example, if you go to your fridge and you're going to make a meal, if you don't know what's inside the fridge, how are you going to make a meal? You don't know what you're working with. It's the same goes for people. So that was a metaphor so that you can understand better um, how people must understand certain qualities to be able to use them to their benefit as best as possible. Obviously, most people do not spend 12 hours a day working on self-development of themselves and understanding themselves exactly, down to the millimeter, and understanding their weaknesses and their strengths, but understanding the main set of strengths and qualities that people have will really improve people's lives, and they will start to feel more confident, and trying to use those qualities in their lives will make them more confident. And um, so just trying to work on that should deal with that. I
Yes, I think Kageli got the answer. Thank you so much
I hope so.
for so many questions and answering them very well. So yes, and yes, so there is a live event which is going in New York, USA. Yes, if you want to join the session, you can even join the session and give your comments as well. So, and thank you for taking your time with Global Summit 2023 and taking a very good topic on positive psychology, which is very interesting. And have a great day. Let's move on to. So, before moving on to the other speaker, let's take a 10 minutes of coffee break. Yeah, thank you. Let's take a 10 minutes of coffee break and we'll come back.